Hey everyone, it is me again. Today I want to talk about something really personal, something that changed everything for me. It is about quitting my 9 to 5 job, a decision that, looking back, was both terrifying and ultimately freeing. But let me be clear, this was not some well thought out plan. This was more like a spontaneous leap of faith, or maybe just a moment of pure frustration. It was messy, it was chaotic, and honestly, for a while, I was not even sure I had made the right choice. But hindsight, as they say, is 20 to 20. For a long time, I was just drifting. I was in my early 20s, fresh out of school, and like a lot of young people, I thought the path was clear. Get a good job, work hard, climb the ladder, that is what everyone said, right? But I quickly realized that good job did not always mean fulfilling. My first few years in the workforce were, well, a blur of trying to fit in, trying to impress, and trying to make enough money to feel secure. I was always chasing something, but I never really stopped to ask myself what I was actually chasing. I was caught in this cycle of working to earn, earning to spend, and then needing to work more to cover what I had spent. It was a treadmill, and I felt like I was running faster and faster just to stay in the same place. I remember this one job, it was a sales role, and it was supposed to be a big opportunity. I was excited at first, thinking this was my chance to really make something of myself. It was a company with a good reputation, and the pay structure seemed promising, but the reality was different. It was long hours, constant pressure, and a culture that felt, frankly, soul-crushing. I was good at it, I made sales, I hit targets, but every day felt like I was giving a piece of myself away. I would come home exhausted, not physically, but mentally and emotionally drained, and for what? A paycheck that barely covered my rising expenses and a faint promise of a promotion that always seemed just out of reach. The office politics were suffocating, and the constant competition made it hard to genuinely connect with colleagues. I felt isolated. Even though I was surrounded by people, I kept telling myself to stick with it. Everyone has to pay their dues, right? This is just how it is. This is what growing up means. But deep down, a little voice was screaming that this was not it. This was not the life I wanted. I saw colleagues who had been there for years, decades even, and they looked just as tired, just as unfulfilled. Some had even given up on the idea of finding true satisfaction in their work, resigning themselves to just collecting a paycheck. I did not want that to be my future. I knew I needed a change, but I had no idea what that change would look like. I was scared to leave the comfort of a regular income, even if that comfort came with a heavy emotional price. And then came the moment. It was early 2022. Our company was going through a merger and things were really unstable. There was a lot of talk about restructuring, layoffs, and new management coming in. My old boss, a good guy, decided to retire. He had made his money, he was set, he had seen enough corporate reorganizations to know when it was time to cash out, but for the rest of us, it was a time of uncertainty. I was in negotiations with the new management, and let us just say it was not going well. They were playing hardball, trying to lowball me, and making it clear they held all the cards. They saw an opportunity to cut costs and squeeze more out of their new acquisitions. I was sitting across from this new boss, a man who clearly believed in his own hypes, and he was basically telling me that he could rip up my contract and leave me with nothing. He was arrogant, condescending, and he just had this smirk on his face, like he was enjoying every second of my discomfort. I was 23 years old, and in that moment, something inside me snapped. I had been quietly building a side consulting business for a while, mostly out of necessity, a way to make a little extra money and explore my own ideas. It was not huge, but it was growing. It was a small but steady stream of income, and more importantly, it was work I actually enjoyed. He had no idea about it, and he was treating me like I was completely dependent on this job. For about 10 seconds, I just sat there, completely silent, processing his words. My initial thought was to lash out, to tell him exactly how little I needed him, to brag about my consulting revenue, to rub it in his face, to tell him his lowball offer was an insult. I fantasized about it, believe me. I wanted to unleash all the frustration and anger I had bottled up over months. But then, a calmer, more strategic thought emerged, a quiet voice that reminded me to play smart, not just react emotionally. I looked at him and said, "You know what? You are right. Let us move forward." I played along, accepted the new, albeit terrible offer. He seemed satisfied, a little too satisfied. I thought he sent the contract, and I never signed it. I never intended to. I just needed a little more time, a little breathing room to finalize my plans and make sure my consulting business could really support me. For 2 more days, I kept up the pretense, going to meetings, acting like everything was normal. It was a strange feeling, being there, knowing I was about to walk away, but not letting on. And then, on a Friday, we had our usual end-of-week meeting. He brought up the contract, expected me to sign it right there. He probably thought I was just dragging my feet, that I would eventually cave. And I just looked at him and said, "You know what? It has been an interesting few days, but I have no interest in this new offer. This is my official resignation. I am not interested in continuing to work here." The look on his face, it was priceless. He was absolutely stunned. His smug expression evaporated, replaced by a mixture of shock and disbelief. He had been so confident, so sure of himself, so sure he had me exactly where he wanted me, and I just walked away that feeling. In that moment was incredible. It was like a huge weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I felt empowered, free, like I could finally breathe. I went home that night, and the person I was living with at the time, she just hugged me. She had been my rock through all of this, listening to my complaints, encouraging my side hustle. She knew how much I had been struggling, how much I hated that job. She said, "Let us go. I am so proud of you." This is amazing. It was a shared victory, a moment of pure, unadulterated joy. It was a risky move. Absolutely. I did not have a massive safety net. My consulting business was growing, but it was not a guaranteed income. There were definitely sleepless nights filled with anxiety about whether I had made the right decision, but I had my dad in my ear, and he had been a huge source of encouragement throughout my life. He is a practical man, and he kept asking me, what is the worst that can happen? He made me break it down logically. Best case, your business takes off, and you have this amazing opportunity to build something for yourself. Something you are passionate about. Worst case, you mess up, things do not go as planned, and you go get another job. You have skills, you are capable, you are resilient. He reminded me that I had always been able to land on my feet. He was right. The worst case scenario was not really that bad. It was just a different job, a temporary setback. Not the end of the world. His calm, logical approach was exactly what I needed to hear when my emotions were running high. Now, I want to be super clear here. I am not saying everyone should just quit their 9 to 5. Not at all. For many people, a 9 to 5 job is fantastic. It provides stability, benefits, and a clear career path. And honestly, for young people, it can be an amazing place to learn new skills, to make mistakes on someone else's dime, to gain valuable experience without the full weight of responsibility. You get to interact with different departments, learn how a larger organization functions, and build a professional network. You can be part of a team, contribute to bigger projects, and get mentored by experienced professionals. These are all incredibly valuable experiences that can set you up for future success, whether that is within the corporate world or venturing out on your own. I learned a lot in my corporate jobs, things that are incredibly valuable to me now, like project management, client communication, and even just basic professional etiquette if you are in the right company. A 9 to 5 can be a stepping stone, a place to grow and develop, and I have employees now, people I rely on, and they are essential to my businesses. I respect the 9 to 5 hustle, and I appreciate the dedication and hard work that so many people put into their jobs every day. But for me, personally, I wanted something different. I wanted more risk, more control, more upside. I wanted to build something that was truly mine, where my effort directly translated into my success. And I knew that came with more downside too. If I messed up, I was the one who would pay the price, not some big corporation. There was no safety net, no HR department to fall back on. It was all on me. Luckily, it worked out, but it required a lot of hard work. A lot of hustle and a lot of learning. It meant late nights, early mornings, and constantly pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And it was not easy. There were moments of doubt, moments of panic, moments where I wondered if I had made a terrible mistake, if I should just go back to the familiar, if I had bitten off more than I could chew. But I kept pushing, kept building, fueled by that initial taste of freedom and the desire to never go back to feeling trapped. And now, looking back, it was the best risk I have ever taken. It taught me so much about myself, about resilience, about what I am truly capable of. It showed me that fear can be a powerful motivator and that sometimes the biggest rewards come from taking the biggest leaps. And it showed me that there's so much opportunity out there, so many ways to build a life that you genuinely love, a life that aligns with your values and passions. We are living in a time where people are making incredible amounts of money doing things that were not even imaginable a few years ago. Think about content creation, e-commerce, online services, people just like you and me, building amazing businesses and creating their own freedom. They are leveraging new technologies and platforms to reach global audiences and generate income in ways that were previously impossible for the average person. The barrier to entry for entrepreneurship has never been lower, and the potential for impact has never been greater. So if you are stuck in a job you hate, if you are feeling unfulfilled, if that little voice inside you is screaming for something more, it might be time to start thinking about what you really want. It might be time to put some pressure on yourself, to explore your options, to build your own security, your own wealth, your own control over your life. It is not about abandoning responsibility. It is about taking ownership of your future, about crafting a life that truly reflects who you are and what you want to achieve. It is about finding true freedom, the ability to do what you want when you want, and to create a legacy that is uniquely yours. And everyone deserves to experience that. It might not be quitting your job tomorrow, but it could be starting a side project, learning a new skill, or just taking the first small step towards something different. I am going to be sharing a lot more about my journey, about the mistakes I made, and the lessons I learned about how to build sustainable income streams and how to avoid some of the common pitfalls in this new world of work in future videos. So if you are new here, subscribe to follow along. And if you have made it this far, thank you for listening. I really hope you find your own path to what makes you truly happy and fulfilled. Take care.